A leader of the Al-Qaeda-linked group Al-Shabaab was in one of the vehicles hit by US drone strikes in Somalia yesterday. The attack follows a renewed campaign by the African Union mission in Somalia, known as AMISOM, which is continuing a major offensive against the armed fighters of Al-Shabaab. Flaminia Jambalvo has more.
Pentagon sources said on Monday that U.S. military forces have carried out an operation against Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab fighters in Somalia. Press Secretary Rear Admiral John Kirby said,
"We are assessing the results of the operation and will provide additional information as and when appropriate."
The U.S. military assistance comes as Somalia's army and African Union troops are continuing a major offensive against the armed fighters.
The Al-Shabaab has wasted your time. The Al-Shabaab has made your children don't go to school. The Al-Shabaab has made you fail to get treatment. The Al-Shabaab has made you fail to develop yourselves. AMISOM, in conjunction with the government of Somalia, is here to make all these things come, to make you be able to get humanitarian assistance, to make your children go to school, to make all your women get all the basic requirements that a human being loves.
The Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab are still a powerful and dangerous force, but have lost a string of towns to the 22,000-strong AMISOM army. The armed group is fighting to topple Somalia's internationally backed government and regularly launch attacks against state targets, as well as in neighboring countries that contribute to the African Union force. However, many are concerned that foreign intervention in the region will further weaken the Somali authorities and strengthen the position of Al-Shabaab. The U.S. has been working closely with the African Union forces, and in particular Ethiopia. In 2006, the United States backed an Ethiopian military mission in Somalia aimed at bringing stability to the country. The two countries have been working very closely ever since.
Ethiopia has also been really key to us with respect to the transition taking place in Somalia. We're very grateful for that, and frankly, a regional leader.
Despite its relative successes, many Somali politicians argue that the Ethiopian mission in Somalia bolstered the hold of Al-Shabaab in the region and further weakened the position of the country's central government. African Union forces have regained control of two rebel-held towns, but as foreign intervention intensifies in the countries, local authorities appear to be weaker than ever. Flaminia Jambalvo, The Report.
Well, now to discuss this story, we have Duale Yusuf, who is the Foreign Secretary of the Somalia Unity Council. Well, Duale, do you think that this attack on Shabaab, and if they have killed a leader, is going to have a decisive impact on the war?
I think before I talk about Al-Shabaab, I mean, Somalia has been under occupation since 2006, authorized by United States of America and by the Ethiopians invading Somalia and committed a horrific crime, killed in Mogadishu more than 70,000 and injured over 100,000. And displaced more than 2.5 million Somalians. Somalia is no longer a sovereign nation. We are under occupation in the name of African Union and in the name of Shabaab and terrorism. And this is sad. I mean, Somalia is the most suffering nation, not only the Horn of Africa, but the whole world. Is a nation that has been abandoned completely. I mean, our people are dying, drones. Our people are dying, and forces and air forces of the Kenyans, tanks of the Ethiopians, and other troops, the foreign troops.
Al-Shabaab also killing Somalis?
Yes. That is the fact. But who caused where they come from? Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, who created them? You know, it's a pretext to conquer Somali nation, to destroy the sovereign of Somalia. That's what Al-Shabaab means. I mean, who created? I mean, in 2006, when the Ethiopian invaded, who backed them? The Ethiopians are unable, you know, it costs $3,000 per day to keep one soldier from Ethiopians in Somalia, and they can't afford that. Who backed them? That was George Bush.
What is the right tactic to use against Al-Shabaab?
The tactics of, I don't understand.
No. What should Somalis be doing about Al-Shabaab to remove them from the...
I think Somalia is more than Al-Shabaab. I mean, they can remove out if they want. But who is between the Al-Shabaab and Somali government and Somali people is African Union, who preventing Somalia become a peaceful country. They always deter that Somalians to form any kind of peace among themselves. There are 24,000 or 26,000 African Union. What do? They are in their barracks, and who is fighting, who is protecting the government now? It's not the African Union. It is the Somali soldiers. They don't get wages, they are ill-equipped, they are unfed, and that is the problem. And nobody sees, the government cannot say that even.
AMISOM, the African Union forces, suppose they withdrew tomorrow, what would happen?
Look, there's no better people to rule in Somalia. I know we had the best time in 2006, and who destroyed it? 2006 was when Islamic courts came in. Somalia had 16 years of civil war. When the Islamic courts came, they created peace, security, and who destroyed it? There was no Al-Shabaab, there's no anybody else, but today we have the worst place. Thousands of Somalians left it from the Western world back to Somalia, especially Mogadishu, and they want to rebuild their country. But who said the war on terror came in and backed by Ethiopians and destroyed all these
and removed
peace.
Islamic courts.
That's correct. And this is the result of that, you know. Don't blame Somalians. We blame who created this. And that is the reality. If the world turned blind eye, what African Union called like air forces of Kenyans, what they're doing in Somalia, I think that's a shame, you know. This is a denial of rights to live of Somalians.
Well, let's come back to the drone strike yesterday, which may or may not have killed a leader of Al-Shabaab. Are these drone strikes legal?
I think this is an illegal war against the Somali civilians. They're killing these drones. It's not the time. Since 2007, drones began to kill many nomad people. I mean, if they're fighting, if you want to fight against Al-Shabaab, then let the Somalian fight, not the African Union or drones. They can never finish. Somalia has been suffocated by these foreigners, and we need to deal, if anybody wants to deal with Al-Shabaab, Somali arms has to deal with them, not African Union, and have to be well equipped, you know, and has to be given the Somali government a chance to control and rule their country. But the West, let me tell you, who controlling now? Not Hassan Sheikh, who's the president of Somalia. Kenyans, Ethiopians are picking up the person they want to rule the Somalia, and that is the reality.
If the Somali government asks the US to conduct these drone strikes, does that make it legal?
I think every nation, you know, not only one president or government can make the decision without indigenous nation. You know, we're part of the country. You know, we're part of the nation, and we can make a better country for ourselves rather than using drones. I don't think if they killed all those Al-Shabaab, there will be another Al-Shabaab, surely. And the reason I'm saying is, as long as you oppressing people, I mean, that is not democracy, you know. Let's speak frankly. This is not democracy, it's about oppression, you know. Somalia is under occupation. We don't believe as a Somalian, these occupiers can bring a peace without Somali support. And the West, you know, to be honest with you, are not allowing us, you know. We had so many conferences, and all conferences has failed because Ethiopian and the Kenyans are interfering and dividing Somalians. Unless the world to listen the voices of Somalians who've been suffocated by the foreign intervention, Somalia will remain as it is, you know. Bin Laden is already dead, but the Al-Qaeda is still there, you know.
Why are the Ethiopians part of this AMISOM thing? Because when the Ethiopians intervened by themselves, they didn't seem to last very long. They pulled out because there was a great deal of opposition and within Ethiopia itself to that.
Yes, because people were fighting that time. Somalians were united because there is always animosity between Ethiopia and the Kenyans. As I told you in the program, Ethiopia is holding the Somali territory called Ogaden. And the Ogaden people are the most suffering nation. Ethiopia is, you can't, even yourself, you cannot access. In Ethiopia, it is the most difficult country to access, and there is a lot of injustice that the people of Ogaden are facing today. The problem is, The problem is nobody is listening, even the president of Somalia. He says, this we can fight against Al-Shabaab. But unfortunately, our troops ill-equipped, you know. They don't have how much they gain, how much money they gain by the African Union, over nearly $200 million. And Somali government can't get that money. Somali troops can't get that money. How can they fight against Al-Shabaab?
How much legitimacy does the government of Somalia actually have? Do they have popular support? Do they have backing?
No, they don't have public support. To be honest with you, they don't have because look in the Dadaab, there are 500,000 people are suffering in the Dadaab. It's in Kenya. The Dadaab camp, refugee camp. In Mogadishu, there are more than 350,000 are suffering. I mean, Somalia is the most suffering nation, you know. Somalia will be, if I'm traveling anywhere in Somalia, through the Kenya or Ethiopia, I get stopped, you know. You know, not only politicians, the businessmen, you know, ordinary citizens. You know, we've been stamped to you, the terrorist part of community, and that's not right. I think there's a lot of injustice that I think this is a colonial, still we live in a colonial time, you know. I can tell you, if you don't listen to me, then I'm going to punish you. That is exactly what we see. What is the difference? Those who bombing people and carrying their bombs in their bellies, and those who, you know, sending, using drones, what's the difference, you know? As a human being, that's what we're going to judge, you know, today. If you're killing an innocent lives, you know, women and children, nomads, you're not fighting against, you know, a combat person. And that's what's happening in Somalia. And drones are killing us. It's not killing us. They're killing in Kenya, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. You know, the Muslims are suffering, you know, and this is not right, you know. I think it's not only Muslims when I say there's a lot of, in the Horn of Africa, when you look, there are number of even non-Muslim Christians are suffering when they outspoke the truth of Horn of Africa, and that is the fact, you know.
I'm sorry, we've run out of time. I'm having to cut you off. I'm sorry, because that is all we have time for on tonight's program, The Report. Thanks to my guests and to you for tuning in. Remember, you can join in our Twitter conversation on all of tonight's stories by tweeting @IslamChannel and using #TheReport. We're back tomorrow night, but for now we'll leave you with some clips from the funeral of one of the pilots of the downed Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, which took place in Malaysia today.